So, we had my friend Enid had some issues with this, and so gonna see what we can do. So, currently this was shot in JPEG, but I still, just for getting the exposure up, I find it easiest to do that first in Lightroom, and then I bring it over to Photoshop. So, first thing I'm just gonna do is I'm going to check our white balance, because right now he looks pretty yellow to me. Okay, that made him get more into normal skin tones there. And then I'm going to bring up my exposure a bit here. Let's see. Now I'm doing this on my laptop, so it's not perfect as when I'm doing it on my nice calibrated monitor, but this will do the trick for now. Okay. So there, that seems pretty good for what I'm guessing his skin tone would be like. Let's maybe bring it down just a scotch. Okay, gonna see the one next to it. Can do a similar thing. Grab my white balance. Just gonna check on the other side of things here. See. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Bring this up. Let's see. Here we were at 0.4. Also 0.4. I think we're probably. Probably okay here. Let's see. All right. So we've got that here now. So that's the first step. Okay. Let me just see if there's any more of any bit of lightness that I want to bring in here. We have a lot of fall off on here. Let me just briefly see. Bring this exposure up just a little bit. And doing a localized adjustment here of just bring this up in here just a little. We'll see. And that's probably a bit strong there. And see it off to on. Good. Gonna erase into here, showing my overlay. Auto masking my erase. On that mask, I'm just gonna erase. It's doing some strange things. Just delete that mask there for right now. Add that bit down. Brush. There we go. Not sure what it was doing before. Okay. And here we go. Kind of bring that up. And we didn't actually want contrast. We wanted on exposure. Bringing that up just a bit. See if we bring our shadows up just a bit. Dealing with the JPEG here, so kind of limited what I can do. I'm gonna erase some in here. Show my overlay. Don't want that part getting too shiny here. And don't want extending it onto my backdrop. Much here. Okay, so a little less pronounced there. Okay. All right. And so we can see from before when we first imported, he was pretty yellow. So that's a pretty good start to begin with of the difference there. Here from before, yellow to here. Okay. And gonna bring in same type of thing I did before. Just that little bit here. Making it for shadows. Coming up just a little. And just a little there. Making sure it's not going over into my backdrop too much. And erasing where it gets on my forehead portion here. Okay. See before to after. Okay. And I'm gonna bring that back up into here. Make my brush smaller. And just that little bit up into here. Okay. Okay. Now, let's go and to Photoshop to work on getting the red out. Okay. We'll edit with our Lightroom adjustments. Let's see. I didn't seem to do it. Let's try that again. Go here to Lightroom, probably because I had it open before. And edit with Lightroom adjustments. There we go. Okay. So let's see what we can do. So the first thing that really grabs me is how red the skin is around his eyes. So I have an action here called Lighten Skin Reds. So what does that do? Well, let's look and see. What it is it makes an adjustment layer, and it's in this Reds 2 area here. So you can see the hue is up +3, saturation stays as it is, lightness brings it up +22, and it's specifically to this color range here of 307 to 337 degrees to 7 to 37. Okay, so when I've got my brush on here and I'm on this, I can go in and paint this effect in, because it's right now the way it defaults doing this is that you don't see it. It does conceal for all of it. You can see if it applied it to everything, that's a bit much. We don't need that. Okay, but you can see the overall effect. We want to paint it on in certain regions and in certain amounts. So in around here where his eyes were just so very red, I'm going to go in and paint this around here. Okay. Same thing in here. Okay. All right. And that was where it seemed really, really red to me. That makes a big difference to me right off the bat. Okay. So that's the first thing I do. The next is that we have little bits of redness here and there for it. Before I hit that, I'm going to get just a couple of the other elements of it. So I'm one of those people that once I get an element that I'm quite happy with of it here, I say that looks right. I tend to just flatten it. I know that's destructive editing, but it's just an old habit of mine from when it used to take up a lot of your computer memory to be able to get these things going for big files like that. Okay. And so I'm just going to go, I like it, and I'll go layer and flatten. Okay. Now, this gentleman had some different elements in his skin here that before I went and tried to get anything else out, I'd get some of these lines out. So I'd go here, bring in my spot healing brush tool and work on getting these bits of the veins not being as apparent there. So just going through here. Right. This is already making a really big difference, I think. Okay. I think that's actually a parallel structure on either side that may not be veining, but rather just the indentations of his nose. I'll leave that for right now. Okay. All right. So you can see the layer before to after. What a difference that can make here. All right. Any other really obvious spots? I'll grab. I'm in here. Fix that little eyebrow here. Just 'cause. Okay. So that first bit is taken care of. So you can see before to after. Right? Gotten rid of those elements. I flatten my image. Okay. Now I'm going to go and use my patch tool. I've made a duplicate layer. Some of these that still just look a bit much for me with that indentation there. I'll go in there, get rid of it, then bring back my opacity on my layer a bit. There we go. So before to after. Looking better. Flatten this sucker. Okay. And now I'm going to go in and use a bit of my lighten skin reds action again. And I'm going to do it on a bit of a lighter opacity at first here. Now, one thing you can actually do is, instead of just going in and carefully dialing it in, is that you can go here. I'm going to make a copy of it. I'm going to select color range. Okay, first I'm going to switch this to none so I can just see where I'm going with this. And that range that's getting us that we want is this kind of reddish tone in here. And we can choose how much of the face it's going to pick with that, and the range if we do localized color, so it's only going to attach to some parts near there. We can turn off localized color if we want, and it's just going to do of how much. Now if we want to see what it's highlighting there, we can pick either grayscale, black matte, so it mattes out whatever it is that you do or do not want. So here we go. We can see really quite well now where it's selecting that color range or not. We can be more selective on it or bring it in with it to make it more of those different color ranges. So I'm going to pick somewhere in around here. Maybe just a little. There we go. Okay. I'll do that. Okay. And now I'm going to select and modify that so it feathers that selection a little bit here to a 2 pixel radius. Okay. So now with that selection, I go up to where my mask is. And now I make sure I'm on white. And I can go in and start applying that. And in this case, first, just to see what I'm doing, I'm going to do it at 100%. Okay. I can see the effect here that it's having. So I'm applying this over. I can make my brush bigger. Getting in here. Don't want this effect to go on the lips. Okay. Right. Okay, so if I hit Command D now, makes it so I no longer am selected. I can see before to after of my effect there. Okay, and we can decide whether or not that this has done the job that we wanted. Maybe just a little too much with it, so I'll bring my opacity down on that layer because I want him to still have some color in his face. There you go. That's looking a lot more natural at this point. Okay. And then I'd say at this point, he's probably pretty good as far as it goes of skin tone range there. If I wanted to just even things up a bit more, might come up here. I see this is looking a little bit funky of this lightness here. Bring in some texture here. Bring in some there. Bring the opacity down just a bit. Before to after. Okay, that's looking pretty good there. Then I might consider looking at lightening up and around the eyes just a little more. We'll see if I like the effect or not. Let's see how that was a bit gray. Okay, before to after. And I think I like that with that effect on him there. And I might even, with the amount of redness he had around his eyes, do another lightened skin reds. Just limit it to that edge of his eye there. In that section there. It's just so red. Maybe he didn't have a very good night's sleep beforehand. He was worried about getting his head shot. Okay, it's subtle, but I'm glad I did it. Okay. There we go. You'll notice doing it this way, his skin still looks like skin. It doesn't look like we've lost all our tonality and stuff like that. With it, might even end up choosing to add back some saturation in here just to get some, particularly in the highlight regions. So I'm going to add my more saturation layer that I have of my actions that I like. And I'm just going to apply some of that in here to bring some of that tones back in here. All right. You can see before to after. If we want, we can even bring that up a bit more. And we'll see if we add my Make It Pop, if we like how that makes the feel to the skin. In that case, I think I do. And one thing that's getting me here is where the placement of these, where your catch lights were. And I think that's one thing that's kind of getting us, as the eyes and pupils are looking a little funky. So just for the sake of things, just to see, I'm going to see about bring this out, because see how this is crossing into the pupil. It's just kind of distracting with it there. I'm just going to see real quick if copying this one over to the other side pupil will kind of help with that consideration. Around here. Just give me just that little bit more of it. Make sure I'm on normal here. Bringing that outward here. Realistically, I'd like to see the catch lights be more out here, not so much encroaching on this pupil. See real quick on that other one. Was it the same type of thing? Yeah, it crosses right in the middle. We don't have any luck there. But let's see from... Nope, I wouldn't really mess with it too much because then the gaze might be off. But what I would want to do in the future is definitely see about having your lights be not quite so far away from your subject, because where you want it to fall of your catch lights are around the iris and not encroaching on the pupil. Okay, so there's that fella. Think we're looking pretty darn good from where we were to where we are now. So if we see back from when we started, just real quick, from there to here, I think we've accomplished it. For a quick background removal of this, just to give Enid a nice clean file here to work with. I'm going to do content aware fill. Okay. Great. And there we go. Not too shabby. All right. And I will flatten my layers and hit save. And I'll send it on to her. So if you wanted to see just one more, we'll do it on this one again for this fella. So I'm going to, the first thing I'm going to do is dress that around his eyes, do my lightened skin reds. Okay, anybody who wanted to see it again, these are the settings for it. +3 for hue, saturation is just straight at 0, lightness +22, 307 to 337, and 7 to 37 are the ranges. Okay, I'm going to go in and address his eyes first. That area was just so very red. Okay, can press my backslash to show me my ruby lith of exactly where it's falling. Back in the eyes, we don't need that effect on the iris. Okay, so we can see before to after there, which is a huge improvement just right off the bat. Okay, then I do like it, so I flatten, come in here, get the vessels off the nose. Okay, just cleaning these up. Alright, the other really obvious ones here. Remember his eyebrow hair there. Boop. This in. Okay. Spot here. There. There. Okay. Remember, this is parts that are not veins. These are parts that are dividing the parts of his sides of his nose there. Okay. So we can see before to after. Okay, now like that, I flatten. I'm going to take care of those slight sides of his nose. Do it with my patch tool. Boop. Up and around, and then decrease the opacity so it's still there, but it doesn't look like it's a vein. Okay, there, and flatten. Okay. Make my additional one. Lighten skin. Okay. Go to my layer. Select. And color range. Now it says save the same type of color that I did before, but say I was not having that already done. First I had it on none so I could see where I wanted, what color range it was. That's really the problematic stuff there. Go in around here. Just going to select the parts that are getting it for me. So it's in here, I can see it. I can move this now back to white matte so I can see where it's following. In there. Okay. I bring it down just a tad, the amount of range on this one. Okay. With that. Great. Hit OK. I'm going to go select, modify, feather, because I don't want it to be a harsh edge. Do my 2 pixels. Okay. Go to my layer with lighten skin reds. And then I'm going to paint this in. I'm going to be careful to avoid the lips, not have it on there. Okay. Hit my backslash to see where I've got it here, where it's following or not. Making sure it's not encroaching on those lips. Okay. Right. Okay, getting those spots. Okay. Here. Hit my backslash. Command D, so I see it without that. There's before, here's after. Okay. A bit too much probably here. Bring it back to taste. So he still has some color, but not sunburn color. Okay. That's looking pretty good to me here. All right. And since it's looking good, I flatten. It's your own choice. I'm going to go in, fix that same spot up here, where it just seemed a little uneven. Bring that down. There you go. Okay. Do as we did before. Pop on a little bit more saturation in some of these spots here. About bring that up. There we go. Okay, we can see where that's falling. Gonna put a tiny bit of highlight in those eyes to bring this up a bit. Because we can see how it got a bit gray there. Okay. Perfect, so we can see before to after. And that's probably a little unnaturally light, so we're going to bring that down just a scotch. Good. Do that lighten skin reds thing again. Around those corners of the eyes where they were extra red. Make sure I put back where I don't want it. There we go. And you can see that little difference for the eyes there. Good. And layer and flatten. And I then pop on my Make It Pop to add that bit of contrast back in there. Bring it down just a scotch. There we go. Flatten that. And get rid of this little bit of smudge there. Great. Okay. And go in. Get our background clean. And it come down to where fill. Okay. Great. In this case, I'm going to just slightly bring this bit out so it's not quite as dark and apparent. Just picking a spot here. I know it looks totally weird first. And this was too much. You get skin that's closer to it, closer by. It's a trial and error type of thing there, of just seeing what works. And again, at first it will look weird because we're getting rid of any bit of age that was there. But then I'm peeling this back because I made that duplicate layer. And just bringing it so it's a better match to that other side. There we go. And layer and flatten. And save. And there we go. I'll go back into my Lightroom one where it's got my edit there, and then I'll export it for you. And that's how I did it. Hope you found that helpful.